Welcome, Cancer, to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 22nd of June for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Going to share the big themes of the week ahead first. On screen is your adventure on Monday. Always important. I'm going to unpack that. I'll then go through each of the influences in detail. By the end of the video, you'll have a clear picture of what's upcoming in terms of your vitality, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. Now that sun has made its way into your zodiac sign, it can really give you a real sense of excitement about what's possible. And you can make progress this week for sure. But there are two big challenges, Cancer. I'm going to unpack each of those. But there's also the chance to seize a golden prize that you've been working towards over the last 13 months. But this is the week when Mars is going to arrive in the sign of Gemini, but then linked with the rather restless energies of Uranus. What's the implications of that as this week draws to a close? So on the screen now is your adventure. So there's the sun newly arrived in your sign. And the things I really love for you is the link to Chiron, a sextile, and the wonderful trine to the North Node. Perhaps what's more challenging is there's a quarter moon on Monday. Your ruler, the moon, is in the logical detached sign of Libra. So it's very much about balance, but it's in your fourth house. So just at a moment when you might have thought that you'd move into action mode, something around your home or emotional life could just cloud things. You can shrug that off, I feel, particularly with Chiron's support, but just know as this week goes on, when you're working on anything to do with your career or connection to the world, if you're a creative, it's a great week for you. If you're not, or you work in a big organization that's rather inflexible and perhaps has a very structured way of doing things and is not so good if you are a more sensitive person, the sun's clash to Neptune at the heart of this week can be hugely demotivating. But it's interesting how astrology works because Mars, which has been moving for the last 5 weeks through your sector of friendship, collaborates brilliantly with both Mercury and then towards the end of the week exactly with Jupiter. Now, Jupiter hasn't delivered in the way you would have hoped, I don't believe, over the last 13 months, but it can by the end of this week because that sextile between Mars and Jupiter is very, very powerful. Mars in your 11th house is very much about your desire to connect, collaborate, but also think about your long-term plan. But Jupiter in your own sign is about your faith. It's about the things that define you in terms of your beliefs. And you could find yourself aligning with people at the end of this week that are really meaningful for you, particularly if you're not enjoying your professional role and you do decide to think about perhaps breaking away. Now, in terms of your finances, Venus is in a very steady link with Saturn. So if you are quite happy with what you're doing, it's reliable, consistent, you're recognized and appreciated, and you can show some flair, I think you can feel pretty good about things professionally. But it's where perhaps you're not really showcasing your soul energies that Mars arrival on Friday in the sign of Gemini can almost instantly give you a huge desire to liberate yourself from anything that you feel is a psychological trap. And the reason for that is that Mars is going to go into a T square with the nodal axis. And of course, Uranus has been aggravating them himself over the last week or two. So the chances are that something you may have been putting off, really confronting, that's tricky, may need to come to the ball by the end of the week. But what about that energy of Chiron in the 11th house? If you have been someone who's suffered with shyness or not always found it easy in social interactions, Chiron gives you a chance in this initial 3 month visit to actually work on that. But because the Sun links to Chiron so well at the start of this week, it really is saying have the confidence to step outside your comfort zone. Because even if it doesn't go exactly to plan, you will have done it. And in itself, that can be quite exhilarating. I feel that you're going to be thinking a lot this week about the psychological dimensions of your life, despite the fact you can take a lot of action in terms of your physical realm. So that could see you wanting to be moving around more. It could see you wanting to be starting something fresh and new, as much as reaping the benefits of Mars's link to Jupiter. But I feel that psychological dimension comes from the fact that Uranus, Pluto, and the Moon are all in a ground trine at the start of this week in air signs, but for you in water houses. So I feel this is going to be a week when you may make some very, very big decisions. I'm going to summarize those four areas of vitality, work, relationships, and finances next, Cancer. But just the same, slash the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now 3 for the price of one. The one you pay for as your life roadmap report helps us to understand our patterns in life. Free, your 12 month transit forecast, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your Cancer solar return through the eclipse, so the eclipse video, which is a 3 month forecast, or you've yet to watch your Gemini new moon video, click on the eye on the screen, please, and that will take you through to the videos. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. I work with people the world over. Please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to subscribe for your daily free horoscope, find your device each morning for your early day celestial pit stop. You can do that below too as well. As far as energy is concerned, I do feel that Uranus still being in that 12th house and being joined by Mars towards the end of this week could tease out some irritation about something you're not enjoying. It may be where you have to connect with other people where the conversation shared or the beliefs they have really run counter to your own. You may be keeping your cards close to your chest at the moment, but it may be very difficult to stay quiet by the end of this week. So I think you could be feeling a little bit ragged. The sun moving into your sign is definitely a great place to improve vitality. Jupiter being there great as well, particularly in its link to the planet of physical drive, Mars. But what I would say is that square to the moon, there are some parts of your situation where you feel a bit conflicted between what part of you might want to do on your own individual terms and what might be best for your family members or your overall domestic situation. As far as your professional situation, Neptune being at the top of your chart where it continues to be is really intriguing, particularly with the sun coming into the square. So that can amplify your imagination, your ability to convey unusual or even quite brilliant ideas. But if you work with people that just don't get anything that's other than very practical, that can really kill your spirit. However, if you are pretty happy in what you're doing, Saturn's link to Venus can help you to keep things going on a steady basis. I think it just depends on your unique circumstances. As far as money's concerned, there could be a tempting proposal made this week with Venus in an opposition with Pluto, but will it have any kind of catches? Not necessarily in an unpleasant way, but will it be quite as advantaged? Will it be quite as good for you as you might be led to believe? That's something to really check out. And as far as your romantic situation is concerned, I think if you're the person taking the initiative and you are footloose and fancy free, particularly if you find someone very alluring from a more sensual viewpoint, that looks exciting. However, if you have been in a tie where maybe you've been not really saying truly how you feel, it's going to be impossible to keep any and happiness to yourself as the week draws to a close. It's been a pleasure being with you, Cancer. Have a great week. All the best and goodbye.